Abraham forgot about what God said to him. God told him that I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to make sure all your needs were met. And you know what Abraham did? He said, you know something? He said the same thing that we all say when we get into a situation. God, you messed up. Let me fix it. Let me fix it, God. I understand what you were trying to do, God. I'm there, but let me fix this. Okay, this right is what I'm going to do. Yes, this is the place where you gave to me. But this is what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go somewhere else. I prayed for this. I've cried for this. I've suffered for this. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go somewhere else until this is available for me, until this famine is gone. Then I'm going to come back to it. So this is what Abraham did. He takes it upon himself and goes down into Egypt. Not only does he go to Egypt, but some other things had took place while he was going to Egypt. See, this is what happens when you get out of... This is the first step of Abraham getting out of the will of God. Because when you get out of the will of God, guess what? It'll cause you to lie. It'll cause you to do some stuff that is just totally uncharacteristic of you. Can I say this? Y'all know how a drug addict is? A drug addict will do their drug. It normally starts off as a behind-the-scenes kind of thing. They do it in dark places. They do it to where, can't nobody see me. I can just do it there, and then when I'm done with it, I can come back outside, and nobody will never know. Everybody will always say, man, he's such a good young man. She's such a good young woman. But after a while, guess what? Sin will only be in the back for a little while. Because after a while, sin will start to get so big for the darkness. Sin will say this, you know something? I'm tired of being hidden. I want to come out into the light. I want everybody to see me. I want everybody to see me for exactly what I really am. And this is what's happening to Abraham. So Abraham goes down into Egypt. He takes it upon himself and says, you know something? I'm going to go somewhere where I know the food is good at. Thank you, Holy Ghost. Y'all know how it is sometimes, how we can think that things are not going good here. You know something? I'm going to go over there where it's good at. But don't you know that all the time where it's good at, it's not always good? You know, the old folks used to say the grass is not always greener on the other side. Because I tell you what, you can look out in my yard right now, the grass is there, but that ain't grass, that ain't number weeds. It looks good from the side of the street, but when you really get up into it, it ain't nothing but weeds. And that's exactly where a lot of us get fooled at. We'll be standing over in our yard and we'll be like, man, I want my yard to be just like my neighbor's yard. He keeps it up, it looks good. Man, I want my yard to be just like that. But as soon as you walk over into it, you're like, man, he got weeds just like I do. Right. But what happens is if it's dressed up enough and it's fixed up pretty enough, guess what? You can't even recognize whether or not it's weeds or not. So this right here is what happens. So Abraham takes it upon himself, goes into Egypt. And when he gets there, it says, and it came to pass when he was near to enter into Egypt, he said unto Sarah, his wife. Let me stop right there. Now, many of us already know that Sarah and Abraham, they were brothers and sisters. But this is the story behind that. Many of us already know this, that they had the same father, but different mothers. So the whole time, any other time Abraham would introduce Sarah, it was always his wife. But now when it comes down to his life being on the line, guess what? This right here is my sister. This is my sister. Because now all of a sudden, you know something? Abraham sees himself to where he could possibly be getting killed. So guess what? Now it's time for me to go into protect mode. Not protect mode for as far as his wife, but protect mode as far as himself. Why? Because first of all, Abraham is already out of the will of God because he's left the place where God has told him to be at. Now he's going out of the will of God. Because he's out of the will of God, guess what? It's causing him to have to lie now. Now he's got to tell a big old lie now. What? Let me say this. It's not a lie, but I'll tell you this much. It's a lie to me, and I'll tell you why. Because any other time he introduces her as his wife. Now all of a sudden, with his life being on the line, it's just nobody but his sister now. Because check this out what happened. It says, and it came to pass that he went into, that as he was getting ready to enter into Egypt, Sarah his wife, behold, now I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. So look, check this out. They're getting ready to enter into Egypt. Abraham lets her know. He says this, look, I know that you fine. You fine. Everybody know that. Everybody looks at you. Everybody think that, you know, you got it going on and everything. But there's going to be an issue with that when we get there. Because in verse 12 it says this, it says, therefore it shall come to pass when the Egyptians shall see thee, and they shall say, this is his wife. And they shall say, and they will kill him, then they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. Check this out. He tells his wife this. He says this. He says, when they see you, they're going to know that you're good to look upon. When they do that, they're going to kill me. Let me say this. Abraham is so far out of the will of God, now he's thinking with his own mind. Because first of all, check this out. God told Abraham this. He says, I'm going to make you the father of many nations. His wife ain't had no kids yet. So how is Sarah not having any kids? Guess what? If he gets killed in Egypt, guess what? The promise is off. So that just made God a lie right there. So now Abraham is having to lie and cover up who he really is. Can I say this? A lot of us cover up who we really are because we're afraid to get killed. Let me show you. Some of us will go on our jobs and not even tell folks that we saved. We'll tell folks, yeah, I go to that church. But we won't tell folks what we do in the church. We'll hide our identity of who we really are. Why? Because we're afraid that people will kill us as far as on the job. And y'all know how folks will start doing. Folks start saying, oh, he's just a holy roller. Oh, don't talk to him because all he's going to do, he ain't going to do nothing but preach to you all the time. Don't even say hi to him because all he's going to do, he just going to want to preach all day. He's going to just tell you how good God is and all this kind of stuff, how you need to be saved and all this. So on our jobs, what we'll do is we'll go to work every day. We'll hide our cross that's on our neck. We'll even bring our Bible to work, but we'll put other books on top of it, or we'll cover it up so we can bring it to work, slide it into our desk, and when nobody's looking and nobody's around, we'll crack that Bible open and read a quick little verse and close it up real quick. Because we don't want other folks to know that we saved. Why? Because we're afraid that they're going to kill us. But if you believe what God is telling you and what God is speaking to you, if God is telling you that you're going to be a pastor, that you're going to pastor folk, that you're going to have a church, that you're going to do all these great things for God, then you have to stand and believe that that's what's going to happen. Because you have to have the faith to know that. Because check this out. Abraham's faith, to me, was shaken right here. Because he didn't believe that the promise that God had told him was even going to come to pass, because now he's having to lie about it. He's having to tell Sarah, Sarah, I need for you to tell a lie for me. I need for you not to tell these folks that I'm your husband. Thank you, Holy Ghost. That's another one. We got folk today that will sit up and tell folk, no, that's not my husband, but when they go home that they marry. Using secret identities, afraid for folks to know that you married. That's just craziness to me. Because Jesus says this. He says, if you're ashamed of me before men, Jesus says, I'll be ashamed of you before my Father. If you're afraid to go out in public and tell somebody that you married to somebody, and you don't want to tell nobody, believe me, you got issues. You need to really seriously check your relationship. If they're afraid to tell people that you married to them. So here it is. So here they are. They got into Egypt. And Abraham has already told her. And it says this. It says on verse 13. It says, say, I pray thee that thou art my sister, that I may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. Now, to me, it's like he's giving her the guilt trip. If you don't tell these people that you my sister, I'm going to die. But if you tell them that I am your brother, guess what? I'm going to live. And I'm not going to live because of nobody else, but because of you. Now he's trying to play the place of God. Now he's not even trusting in God or nothing. He's putting his trust in Sarah now. Sarah, if you just tell them this, I'm going to live. Just hoping and believing that he's going to live just off that. But if he would have stayed right in Canaan, where he already was, where the famine was, thank you, Holy. Can I go back a little bit? If you read, the same thing happens to Isaac. The same thing happens to Isaac. A famine hits, and Isaac has the opportunity to go into Egypt, and God tells Isaac, don't go into Egypt. He says, the same promise that I gave your daddy, I'm giving it to you. He says, I'm gonna make your seed innumerable, to where people aren't gonna be able to number it.